When it comes to the Arsenal transfer news, many fans want to know what exactly is happening. And so today I am joined by the reliable Chris Wheatley, one of the best Arsenal-based journalists in the world, as we go through the transfers of James Maddison, Lokonga Ben White, and all things related to Arsenal Football Club. So join me today in a special episode of the Transfers FC. Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is Babs14 and welcome back to your boy's channel. Before we get into the video, if you guys can go down there and smash a like, and while you're down there, please do consider subscribing to your boy's channel as well, as we are on the road to 50,000 subscribers. But let's get straight over to it and let's discuss Arsenal transfers with the main man, Chris Wheatley. Right, yo guys, here I am with the main man himself, Mr. Chris Wheatley in the cut himself. How you doing, Chris?
Oh, I'm really good, Babs. Thanks for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be on your channel.
Man, the pleasure's mine, man, to have a man of you on my channel. It's insane. Listen, Chris, we all know why you're here. It's the Arsenal transfer news season. Everyone wants to know who are Arsenal signing, how much money do Arsenal have to spend, and who's going out as well. I think that's the key question, though, is how much money do you think Arsenal do have to spend? Because some people think that we don't have that much money, and a lot of people think that we have, I don't know, someone said £250 million. So do you have an estimate of how much Mikel Arteta could be given to spend?
Yeah, look, I've seen those reports as well, and it's a very difficult question to answer. We know that Arsenal do have money to spend. I think the 250 million report is perhaps a little bit inaccurate. I haven't heard that, and I've spoken with other journalists who cover Arsenal. We've not heard that. But I did hear that Arsenal are preparing an offer for two players for 80 million. So 80 million pounds combined. I heard that a few weeks ago, but I didn't publish it because I couldn't completely verify it. But I'm telling you now because it's an interesting line. It came from a good contact. And Arsenal do have money to spend. We know that. And they've already lodged a £45 million bid for Ben White. So that shows that they have money to spend. And there's going to be a lot more money spent this summer because Arsenal need to make big signings. But in terms of what they have, we know they took out a loan last month, and that was to pay back the money they took out from the Bank of England last year. From what I understand, there's a bit of money left over, and then they're going to have more money coming in from player sales over the next few weeks. So I'm expecting Arsenal to sign a couple of players. It looks like Ben White and Lokonga. And then after that, I would expect player sales to take priority. We know that the likes of Matteo Guendouzi and Lucas Torreira, Sead Kolasinac, all of these kind of players are going to be going soon. So it's going to be a very, very busy few weeks for Arsenal.
In terms of the backing, though, do you reckon it's just from player sales, or do you reckon the owners are going to have to intervene? Like last year, if I'm right in saying that the Thomas Partey deal maybe was from the owners, or that's what was reported at least.
Yeah, it was reported, although after kind of looking into that, I don't believe that the Kroenkes did invest their own money. It's a difficult area to explain, and someone who's not an expert in finances, I'm not going to try and explain it today. But what I would say is that I don't think that money came from the Kroenkes. As far as I know, they've never invested their own money in Arsenal. But what I would say is that Josh Kroenke said at a recent fans forum that he's excited for this summer. He's excited. And he said that before. And when he said that a couple of summers ago, Arsenal did make a lot of signings. They signed the likes of Kieran Tierney, Martinelli, Saliba, Nicola Pepe. So look, maybe we need to take his word at face value for once. And let's see what happens this summer. But yeah, I think Arsenal do have money to spend, but I would be surprised if that money is coming from Stan Kroenke.
But in terms of, you did say there that Lokonga and Ben White are the closest so far. I mean, which of the two are closer, or are they both close to completing? Because as Arsenal fans, we want announcements, we want official signings at this point. You know, we're a bit bored of talks and negotiations. So who do you think is closer to signing out of the two players?
It's a good question. And before I answer, I'm going to say I completely understand the fans' frustration when it comes to transfers, because there's an expectation that these deals are going to be completed in a matter of days and hours, and it just doesn't work like that. And transfers nowadays are really complex to firstly negotiate and then finalise. And a lot of things can go wrong as well in between. But what we know with the Lokonga deal is that it's a pretty easy deal to finalise for Arsenal, because I don't think there's that much that many clubs kind of rivaling Arsenal for his signature. I think he wants to go to Arsenal as well, from what we understand. So I would expect that deal to be wrapped up soon. The same with Ben White. We know that he's agreed personal terms with Arsenal. He wants to come. They've already kind of sounded him out beforehand. And that happens a lot with players. Arsenal will speak to intermediaries, people connected to the player, and find out whether that player would be interested in coming to Arsenal first. And once they know that there's that interest from the player, that's when they make the formal offer and start to speak with the parent club. So I expect both of those deals to be completed soon.
Was Ben White always Arteta's main man, or was it other players that they maybe couldn't sign or couldn't attract with the lack of Champions League football?
As far as I know, Ben White is the main priority in terms of that centre-back area. I think it's a clear priority for Arsenal because, look, £45 million is a lot of money to spend. Yeah. So clearly they have decided that Ben White fits the profile. He's homegrown, he's versatile, and his market value can increase over the next few years as well. I think that's a really important matter where Edu and Arteta are concerned. They want to sign players whose market value can increase over a period of time. And someone like Ben White, who is in his mid-20s, he's young, he's got a lot of potential, could be worth 70 or 80 million. I think it's a good signing. My only question mark really is over the price. We need to wait until the end of the transfer window before kind of assessing or judging Arteta and Edu. And I think that's what they are asking the fans for as well. They just want to be judged at the end of the window, and there's still plenty of time to go.
But in terms of William Saliba, I know that I think you reported maybe a few days ago that he could be going out on loan. Now, a lot of Arsenal fans are saying that can't happen. They all love William Saliba. They want to see him given a chance. Do you reckon he will go out on loan, or is it a matter of maybe 50-50 right now?
From his end, it's pretty simple. He has always said privately and publicly that he wants to play for Arsenal. He loves Arsenal. I think there's pictures of him with an Arsenal shirt as a kid as well. He's an Arsenal fan. He's spoken about it before. But the only question mark there is, will Mikel Arteta give Saliba his chance this season? Now, he's 20 years old, so he's still quite young, but we know how well he's played in France. So his qualities are there for all to see. From what I understand, Arsenal are considering sending him out on loan. And I think that is one that we're just going to have to wait for. And I think he will get a chance in pre-season. That is my hope, and that is what his people have been told as well. And that's what I've written over the past few weeks. And other journalists have written the same, and we've all been told that Saliba is going to get a chance in pre-season. Again, we just have to wait and see. I know how much the fans want to see Saliba play because he's an exciting player. 100%. I was at the EFL Trophy game against AFC Wimbledon, where Saliba got sent off last season. One thing that kind of impressed me, but kind of worried me a little bit, was that he was like taking on midfielders as a centre-back, because he used to be attacking midfielder, which is quite interesting. So that's why he's got that kind of attacking instinct. So I think Arsenal publicly, they're kind of saying that if he does go out on loan, it will be for his development. But I've also heard other reports saying it could be with a view to him eventually being sold, because he's part of the old regime under Unai Emery. So again, we're just going to have to be patient. We're just going to have to sit tight and wait and see what happens. Yeah, I think a loan move at the moment is looking like the most likely outcome.
Well, let's move on to midfield now. Enough of the centre-backs. Let's go on to Sambi Lokonga, obviously. That's close to signing. But do you reckon that would be the only central midfield signing this summer? Or do we have other players in mind? Maybe after we saw Xhaka and a Guendouzi and a Torreira, a Bissouma potentially, because that's the player that a lot of Arsenal fans, again, are warming towards right now.
Yeah, Bissouma is the one that I think everyone wants to see join. Again, I haven't heard anything on that one. All of the talk from when I reported it in January has kind of come from his camp, but we do know that Arsenal like the player. They've been tracking him for a long time. I think about a year and a half they've been tracking him for. He's an Arsenal fan. He's friends with Nicola Pepe. He's got the same agent as Pepe. Lots of links there make that transfer make a lot of sense, but we haven't heard of a formal offer from Arsenal yet. As far as I know, they do want to sign another central midfielder on top of Lokonga. Don't forget, Lokonga is 21 years old. He's very young. He's very raw. Lots of potential. But I can't see him starting week in, week out. We know that Granit Xhaka is leaving. And I think Mikel Arteta wants another type of kind of profile of Xhaka player, if that makes sense. A kind of similar player to Xhaka. And I think that is going to see someone like Ruben Neves, that kind of player, come in. Not necessarily Neves, but someone on that kind of level. And I think a bit more experience is probably needed in that Arsenal midfield. So yeah, I think Arsenal are going to sign another midfielder on top of Lokonga. But like I say, I think first they're probably going to get a couple of players in. I think then it's probably going to be some player sales, and then we'll see some more players come in towards the end of the window.
Could one be Manuel Locatelli? And now I understand that he's closing into Juventus, but I heard that Arsenal also had interest as a player. So do you reckon that he's a player that Arsenal could look to sign as well, or is he just off the Juventus and that's it?
I like Locatelli. I think we've all seen his performances for Italy at Euros right now, and he's absolutely killing it. He's a fantastic player. One thing that I would say is I personally have not heard any concrete interest from Arsenal. I know other people have reported it. It's not to say that it's not true. But what I would say is that you very rarely see Italian midfielders come to the Premier League. It would be a surprise if he came to Arsenal. And I think from what I've heard, Juventus, as you say, Babs, are favourites to sign him. I don't think he'll be coming to the club this summer. But look, really talented player. And he's certainly a player that Mikel Arteta likes.
And in terms of the Bissouma deal, I remember a Brighton reporter reporting a few weeks ago that is a potential that Eddie Nketiah could be doing like a little swap deal with Arsenal giving money to Brighton for Bissouma. Now, if Arsenal spending £45 million with Ben White, are they also going to spend 35 on Bissouma and give Brighton nearly 70 to 80 million pounds? Do you reckon that's possible, a Nketiah and a Bissouma type of swap deal?
Yeah, I think swap deals are certainly on the cards this summer. Whether they offer a player for Bissouma is another question, because like I say, we haven't heard of any formal offer from Arsenal for Bissouma yet. But until they kind of make that interest concrete, we don't really know where they stand.
Yeah.
But what I would say is Eddie Nketiah, he is a player that Arsenal want to sell this summer. They've made that very clear. From what we understand, James McNicholas from The Athletic reported they've offered him a new contract extension, and that's to preserve his market value because his contract expires next summer. So what I would say is that I think Arsenal are going to try and use him in any way possible in terms of a potential swap deal, because they want to get rid of him this summer because they need to raise funds.
They need to get me on the negotiations board. I'll make that deal happen ASAP and get Bissouma at Arsenal. But in terms of another central midfielder, I think this is the last one we're talking about, Eduardo Camavinga. He is a French young player. They call him a generational talent in France. How concrete are these links? Because I've heard French reports say that he could be Arsenal's number one target midfield.
Yeah, I remember when these links surfaced just before the start of the transfer window. I think it was from France. A report said Arsenal are in for Camavinga, or they're set to sign him, or something along those lines. And I contacted the representative of that player, who said those links were absolute rubbish. Now, things can change in football, as we know. Things can change over days, months, weeks, hours. And who knows, things could have changed since then. Clearly, he's a player that every club in Europe likes. I haven't heard of Arsenal making an approach for him. He's going to be very expensive, despite I've seen some reports that he might be available for a cut price fee. He's still going to be very pricey. There's also the commission to the agent, which is going to be expensive as well, because he's with one of the biggest agencies in European football. So when you put all of that together, I think it's an unlikely deal for Arsenal right now. I think there are other teams who are probably ahead in the race for Camavinga. But again, I don't want to rule it out, because who knows what could happen. It could happen at some point in the future. But
let's move on to I think this is the main department for Arsenal, that creative player, the chance creator, the attacking midfield department. And we know that Odegaard's a target for Arsenal, but it looks like he could be staying at Real Madrid now. How about James Maddison? Or I call him James. It's James Maddison. James Maddison, is he a player that Arsenal are serious about? And is it possible we could sign him? Or is it just, I don't know, rumours to get fans excited?
Well, look, those rumours came from the AFC Bell, from what I remember, a couple of weeks ago. And I did some digging after seeing that, because you know when the AFC Bell reports stuff, it tends to be some substance behind it. And I thought it was an interesting link. And I did do some digging, and I was told that he is at the top of Arsenal's list for this summer. But, and there's a big but there is a bit of an issue over the fee, because James Maddison is going to cost in excess of £60 million this summer, regardless of whether Leicester want him to go or not. Because, again, as we spoke about Ben White in terms of him being homegrown, it comes at a premium. He's in a creative midfield position, so he's in demand. So I think that's the biggest issue there, the fee. But yeah, he's a player that Arsenal would like. Mikel Arteta really likes the player as well. Can they afford to get him? I think they can, but I think they need to sort out the player sales first. And I think that's why I would expect, and this is just my prediction more than anything, Arsenal to sign that creative midfielder towards the end of the transfer window. That's what I think is going to happen. It's not really from Anything I've been told is just my prediction, but I would expect that deal to be done towards the end of the window in terms of creative player.
If you have spoken to Maddison's people, do you reckon he's open to coming to Arsenal? Because we've been in arguments with a lot of Leicester fans who claim to be this big club now. They've been telling us he wouldn't downgrade to Arsenal. Do you reckon Maddison would be open to coming to our gargantuan institution that is Arsenal?
I think James Maddison is fully aware of how big Arsenal are as a club. He knows Bukayo Saka. Clearly, Arsenal are an attractive club for any player around the world. They have the best, or some of the best facilities, one of the best stadiums. They're still one of the biggest brands, if you like, in the world in terms of football. He would be open to coming to Arsenal. But again, the biggest thing there is the fee between the two clubs, and no deal can be done without an agreement there.
Yeah, we need to get agent Bukayo Saka on the phone now. But you did say that we have a list of attacking midfielders, and Maddison's right now, it's very expensive. What do you reckon of the other players? Maybe a Aouar, a Fekir. We've had Julian Brandt back in January as well. Do we have a list of players that we can look to as potential alternatives?
Yeah, I mean, going through the names you mentioned, Julian Brandt, speaking to his people, they were pretty confident that there's unlikely to be a deal that's going to happen there. I think Brandt is a player who's had an up and down time with Borussia Dortmund. But what I would say is that someone like Aouar, we know Arsenal bid for him last summer. So we know that the club are interested in him. Whether they go back in for him, again, haven't heard of anything concrete. I think the Lyon president said recently that they've rejected a bid from an unnamed club for Aouar. But we also know that Juventus are interested in him. So I don't think we're going to see much happening over the next couple of weeks in terms of that creative midfield spot. But the names you mentioned are interesting players. But I do think at the moment it seems like Odegaard and Maddison are the two players who Arsenal are looking at. I think Odegaard, despite what he said, I still think a deal could be done there. And I think Real Madrid would sell him for the right price this summer. So again, one to look out for.
Sure. Okay, let's go back to the defensive area. Let's go to the right back. It's very underrated, this right back position, because fans are looking at the big attacking midfielders. We need a right back as well if Bellerin is to leave. How close is Hector Bellerin to leaving Arsenal?
Pretty close. He's speaking at the moment with clubs in Spain and Italy. I'm actually writing an article about it today, so hopefully you don't publish this video before I publish my article. No. But yeah, look, Hector Bellerin is speaking with, as we know, Atletico Madrid, Villarreal, and some teams in Italy as well, which I'll publish later. But yeah, look, he's an in-demand player. He is, despite I know a lot of fans are kind of have different opinions on Bellerin, he's a great role model for Arsenal Football Club. And I think some of the stuff that he's done over, off the pitch over the past few years has been fantastic for Arsenal. Like, his time at Arsenal's come to the end, like Xhaka. I would expect that deal, whichever club it is, to be done over the next few weeks. I won't put a time frame on it because it's kind of up to the clubs, of course, to decide and the player to decide where he wants to go. But Spain or Italy is what I've been told. I've seen some people suggest Cedric Suarez could be leaving. Don't think that is likely to happen. We know he didn't play towards the end of last season. Same with Callum Chambers as well. I think he's got 1 year left on his deal. A player that Mikel Arteta likes, so I think he'll be coming back as well.
But yeah, in terms of the right back that Arsenal could be looking to sign, Chris, do you reckon it could be Tyler Adams from RB Leipzig? Because there's a lot of names linked to Arsenal and a right back. Celik was linked before as well. A couple of other players like Max Aarons. Who do you think is Arsenal's main right back target as it stands?
So it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because we know there are so many names linked with Arsenal, especially when clubs and other people know that Arsenal are looking for a certain position. Then every single player in European football in that position gets linked with Arsenal. Now, I think there was the Celik link from Lille, the Turkish right back. Seen him at the Euros, not been too impressed. I'd be surprised if that one happens. Tyler Adams is a really interesting one because he fits the profile in terms of being able to play in a 4-3-3 formation. And we know that Mikel Arteta wants to eventually put his team in a 4-3-3 formation because he said it publicly at the end of last year, I think. Yeah, Adams is certainly a player on Arsenal's list. It's been reported by a few journalists. I think James Bernd from CBS reported it recently. Again, I haven't heard of anything concrete, but clearly Arsenal need a right back if Bellerin goes. So I think Adams is high up on the list there.
Well, let's move on to the goalkeeper area. Mr. Andre Onana, what's his name, like Rihanna would say. But we've heard Aaron Ramsdale as well. There's a lot of goalkeepers into Arsenal, but I think a lot of Arsenal fans want to see Onana at Arsenal. especially with the price tag. Do you reckon we are closing into the signing of Onana, or is it a matter of we're still considering that as a signing?
Yeah, so I think, again, it was Charles Watts who first reported this a few months ago. Arsenal have interest in the Ajax goalkeeper, Andre Onana, very talented shot stopper. He's a player clearly that Arsenal see as a long-term replacement for Bernd Leno. But again, we don't know what's happening with Bernd Leno's future at the moment. He's a player who says that he's committed, he wants to stay at Arsenal. I understand that he is open to leaving and the club are open to letting him go this summer. But so far, there's been no concrete interest. So I think it's kind of dependent on what happens with Leno's situation at the moment. When I spoke to people close to Onana over the past couple of days, they said that at the moment, those links have gone quiet. They've not heard much from Arsenal. And they believe that Arsenal are looking at homegrown alternatives. Or in fact, what they said was also they're looking at homegrown players. And I wrote that yesterday in an article. So
on Leno, though, as you said, he's open to leaving potentially. Could it be a thing of where we keep Leno and sign Onana, or does one have to go for one to come in? Because, if we sell Leno as well, who's our number 2 going to be? Are we going to sign Matt Ryan, or is it going to be someone else from the academy?
Yeah, you're right. And there's also that possibility that Leno could stay and Onana could sign. Because don't forget, Onana can't play competitive football again until November. He can't train until September. So when you factor that into account, Arsenal would need Leno at least until January. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Matt Ryan, don't really think that one's going to happen because we know Celtic want him. I think Celtic are close to signing him. He's probably going to link up with his old coach there. And I think he's going to be promised the number 1. Don't forget, they've got some young goalkeepers as well. Carl Hein and Arthur Okonkwo. Their situation's a bit unclear contractually at the moment, but we're expecting some updates on that very, very soon.
Okay, let's go from one end of the pitch to the other. Centre forward. It's a bit iffy in this one because a lot of strikers are linked to Arsenal, but we have to sell first as well. On Alexandre Lacazette, will he stay or will he go? Because his contract is set to expire, I think, end of next season, if I'm right in saying.
Again, difficult one to answer. My prediction is that he's going to stay until the end of his contract. I'd be surprised if he signs an extension. And the reason I say that is because Lacazette is on a huge salary on the region, or almost close to 200,000 a week, just under, I think, which is a huge salary, of course. And I can't see any team in Italy, Spain or France being able to pay or cover that kind of salary right now with the state of the finances in European football. If an offer comes in which is suitable, there's also the possibility Arsenal could part fund his salary elsewhere, similar to what they did with Mesut Ozil in January. If they don't sign the striker, they probably will need Lacazette because he was Arsenal's top goal scorer last season. He can still score very important goals. He is a player who does turn up in the big games a lot of the time. So again, I think he's someone who's going to be staying until the end of his contract, but it could change. So we have to see. If
we were to sign a replacement, were we to go out there and sign, as the Athletic reported, Isak or a Correa, or is it giving Balogun and Martinelli and Aubameyang the chance to just thrive?
Balogun's an interesting one. We know that he is going to get a chance in pre-season to impress. I think a loan is going to be possible, but again, I was told that he's going to get a chance to impress with everyone else. So a lot of high hopes for him. He's just signed a new contract. He's clearly a player who can score goals, but clearly next season has to be the year and the season for Gabriel Martinelli, because this is a player who Arsenal fans were so desperate to see last season. There were games where I was thinking he needs to be playing, he needs to start, and he wasn't getting his chance. So I really hope Martinelli does get more opportunities next season. And Arsenal, I think they're well stocked in those forward positions, but Isak would be an amazing signing, judging from what we've seen so far in the Euros. At the moment, it's clear that Arsenal have other priorities and they need to get those signings over the line first.
On Edu Gapar and Mikel Arteta, there's a lot of people have a lot of opinions on those two people, especially Edu Gapar. What are your thoughts on him? The people he speaks to, agents, do they speak highly of him, or is he a person who... I don't know, man. How is he with the agents, Edu Gapar?
Speaking to agents and people who work with Edu, everyone speaks very highly of him. Everyone says he's very charismatic. He's a good negotiator. The biggest word I've heard is ruthless. And I think we've seen that as well in January with the contract terminations. I was told by one agent recently that Edu is not afraid to kind of say, we're going to terminate this player's contract. And I think one player who it's worth looking out for in terms of that is Sead Kolasinac. because we don't know what's going to happen with his future at the moment. I think there's the possibility that his contract could be terminated as well. And when you have a high-profile job like he does, you're always going to get people talking about you and criticizing you. From what I've heard, he wants to be judged on what he's done at the end of the transfer window, when the window's closed. I think he will accept any criticism that comes his way, but deals can still be done, players still can be sold. And I think it's better to wait until it's closed before making a judgment on what kind of technical director he is, because so far I think it's mostly been positive. We've had some of the signings from last summer, the Willian signing. I know there's question marks over that, but generally there's been a lot of positive things from Edu, and I think there's optimism as well for the future with the young players at the club and the business that they're hopefully going to be doing this summer.
And in terms of Mikel Arteta, is there a matter of any question over his job? What do you think his goals are for next season? Is it to get Champions League football, or is it, get us back top 6 level first?
No, I think Europe is a clear goal for next season, and they want to build the team around the likes of Saka, Tierney, Martinelli, and many others obviously coming through, and Smith Rowe as well. Hopefully he'll sign that contract soon. So clearly the goal is to qualify for Europe. I think Arsenal would ideally like Mikel Arteta to win a domestic trophy next season as well. I think that's what the fans would like. Like I say, fingers crossed they get all those players they want over the line this summer, and then hopefully we can see a European finish next season.
Fingers crossed indeed, Chris. Thank you very much for coming on the boys channel. Really appreciate this. Make sure to follow Chris on Twitter, Chris Wheatley on Twitter. Is it just Chris Wheatley, or is it a number as well?
Chris Wheatley _ on Twitter, yeah.
Chris Wheatley _ Make sure to follow him, get all your Arsenal news, transfer news. Big Arsenal reporter, very reliable as well.
Thanks, Babs, and hopefully speak to you again soon.
Hopefully, man. Thank you very much. But that is the video there and there. Thank you very much to Chris for coming on your boys channel. It was a pleasure. As always, if you have enjoyed, make sure to smash a like down below. And while you were down there, please do consider subscribing to your boy as well. The links to Chris's Instagram and Twitter will be down below as well, so please follow him. And also, if you fancy following your boy, my links will also be down there below as well. But that wraps up a special episode of the Transfers FC into the UFC today, and I will see you guys soon. Arsenal TikTok, sign some players in a bit now, guys.